All right, guys. Wanted to walk you through a little bit today about my process of finding those key levels and also considering context. You can have all the confluence in the world, but if you don't have the correct context, then you do not have a trade. So, one of the key things that I like to start off with when I'm looking at levels is just the baseline, just looking at it, right? Just kind of seeing what is the context, where are we going, right? I like to start out on a daily time frame here because I'm really looking for those big pivots. As you can see here, right, I'm looking at this on the logarithmic and algorithmic so I can really get an idea and see the volatility, right? When you do not have it on logarithmic, you really don't have that visual reaction of those real moves. But on this way, you can really see, wow, we really went up there, and then we had kind of a channeling reaction, and then here we had a deep retrace. If you don't have it on logarithmic, you can't really get that view. And also, I like it because once you scroll, it just kind of fits the screen. So if we look here at the local price action, what we see here is we're just in some kind of little bit of an expanding, right? Like kind of like a backwards triangle, right? Let's see if we can get this thing here. Right? This is making higher highs, and this is making lower lows. And then right here locally, we start to change the market structure into a little bit of a triangle, right? So just getting a basic understanding of the context, right? After I get the context, one of the first things I like to do is look at the range. I just want to look at the range of where we are at, right? And you can pull this a couple different ways. You might decide you want to say, okay, you know what, Brian, it looks like we're ranging from here. So right there on the breakout candle, we can see that the point of control is right there at the bottom, right? And then we might say, you know what, we want to expand this a little bit. That value area low is right there at price action. Kind of want to pull this back a little bit and involve this auction process here. So we'll go to this one right about there. We can see here the point of control didn't change, right? So what does this mean? What is the context of this? So the context of this is showing that we are trading under the point of control and above the value area low, with a couple little retraces down in, and we really just kind of wicked, and you can build a case on which is the correct pull based on the behavior of the point of control and at the highs and the lows. As you can see here, we wicked, and this wick, we really had the candle body that formed right inside the low, and then this one saw a nice little wick. So I would say that this is pretty fitting, right? So right now, right off the bat, what do you see? So now I like kind of drag this point of control just right on there. As we get into a lower time frame, that's going to change a little bit, as you can see here, right? So this point of control is the greater point of control. And then here, I have another fixed range pull of this local range. So what is that telling us? That is telling us that Confluence is stacking up on top of each other. This is a very, very key thing here. Now we want to start to find other little things, maybe some other confluences to see if this is a very strong level. Now, this is a very strong level right here, but that doesn't mean that we can't flip this into support and just take off. But right now, we have a couple factors that are saying this is a pretty strong level. One of the next things I like to do is like to see what's the fair price. I'm going to come up here to this all-time high, and I want to anchor a VWAP. As you can see here, we had this at this value area high, a little bit of a failed auction, and then we came on down here to the value area low. Okay, so the fair value price is still pretty much well above the price. I'm going to come over here and I'm going to anchor a VWAP to this high. Ooh, and now I can see that this anchored VWAP is making its way down right to that point of control. Another thing I'd like to do is I'd like to start to see some naked points of control. So I'm going to introduce here, I'm going to be using ATAS for that. I'm going to drag this ATAS over here, and we are going to look at some naked points of control. Let's come on over here. Do we see any naked points of control? I see 113,900 and 108,000. And let's go to the weekly here. I'm not seeing any naked points of control on the weekly. Let's go here to the monthly. And we come here to the monthly, and what do you see? I see a monthly naked point of control at 111,300 because now it's November 1st and we are in a new month. So October left us a nice big naked point of control at 111,300. Let's go back to our trading view chart and let's see where 111,300 pops up. I have here these naked points of control, and look at that. So this right here is Confluence stacking up and showing us really where there are some strong resistances, right? We've got a naked point of control. We've got a point of control. We've got a anchored VWAP from the high of the range. Now we want to ask ourselves, is the context fitting to say, could we open a limit order right here? What is the context of this? As you can see here, we were previously trading here in a triangle. And we had this low, high, right? We didn't find the exact low and we broke out of the triangle. But when we faked out the triangle, we came back in. Where did we find support? Right at the bottom. And what do we have here? We have here this triangle resistance. This is showing us that typically when you have a fake out of the high and you enter back into a triangle, that is a failed impulse. And probably from a probabilistic point of view, this will come on down here and really start to treat this like a range. That's not saying we can't just flip this into support and just go for it, but this is enough to set an alert and really keep an eye on seeing if we get a swing failure pattern or maybe just a quick rejection. So these tools are some of my go-to tools on how to find support resistance and always trying to think about context in every situation. All right, guys, that's about it. Tune in next time. We'll go through some other stuff, but hope this little process helps you about taking basic tools and formulating a good plan. See you next time.